All right. I see the house seems to be ready for today's call, and it looks like it is going to be very, very exciting. So again, welcome everybody to Ordinary Voices, the September edition, where we are talking about partnership for peace building, climate action, and reduced inequality. And we got a really, really cool lineup of guests. I know we got Charity, community health specialist. And then I got Lamin talking about how sports can be used to drive change in the communities. And then I got Lavender talking about climate action and how advocating for climate change can be amplified in our grassroots community. But before I share something over here, like really, really quick, there is a statistic that is always out there. I know, Lamin, because you are on SDGs, and Charity, I know you are also on the SDG space. I want to just to pull it up. And as you introduce yourselves, probably people will be curious to hear your thoughts. And probably this can now set the pace for us in relation to what we are now thinking of talking about. Now, 10 years ago, the Sustainable Development Goals were launched. We are only left with 5 years, but only 18% of the SDGs are on track. And if nothing serious is done, or the things remain as they are, 590 million people may live in extreme poverty. And as Ordinary Voices, we bring these episodes to bring like-minded individuals who have identified challenges in the communities and are actually doing something to address the challenges, and probably collaborate with members from across the globe to amplify the work that they are doing. So with that, as you introduce yourselves, I will start with, say, Charity. You dive right in. You can choose to reference this in your introduction, but we really, really just want to hear your thoughts in relation to SDGs and how probably the Ordinary Voices or the grassroots communities can help accelerate the attainment or the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals. So Charity, I bring you on board and you can get us started.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter, for the platform, and thank you for having me on today. My name is Charity Adhiambo. I'm a youth champion lead in Kenya, and I currently serve as the CEO of Najimudu Empowerment Initiative. Najimudu is a public benefit organization that works on matters climate justice and social justice. And we currently operate in Kenya with the hope that one day we'll be able to extend to other parts of the globe. And to just weigh in on what you had mentioned about SDGs not being on track, unfortunately, that's very true. And for me, I think the problem with how we have been implementing and why we still are trying to clamor to the very end to ensure that we have achieved our SDGs, and yet we're still not on track. I think it's been because we have been segmentally trying to work on each SDG segmentally. Like you find an organization is purely working on education, another one is purely working on good health, and you disregard all the other 15. So you find that for us to be able to really attain sustainability, it has to be very intersectional, and it has to link to other bits. There's no way you can say education is fully attainable when climate justice is not attainable. You can't say health is attainable when peace and strong institutions is not attainable. So unfortunately, that has been how we have been implementing to try and achieve SDGs, and we have not really been able to be on track. Now that we only have 5 years left, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the hope that we can be able to attain them by 2030. I look forward to having this engagement more. Back to you, Peter.
All right. Thank you so much, Charity, for that. We cannot just work on these SDGs independently. They are like, they say, they're like interlinked. So let me bring Lamin. Lamin, what are your thoughts? Tell us who you are and probably your thoughts in just relation to what I've just shared as we were starting.
So first of all, thank you, Peter, for bringing all of us together here to talk about to talk about this topic. So yeah, my name, a little bit about myself. My name is Arlem Lamin. So I am a researcher and an author working on football and society. I'm also the head of research of Football Case Study, which is an editorial and research platform that works on football, trying to understand the world through football in many different cultures in the world. And as Charity was saying just before about the goals and the SDG, and what Peter, the figure that you show us, is very compelling in the fact that I do believe also that we need to think that like a system, you know, because they are all interconnected. And if we work independently towards each of these goals, I mean, we make some progress, but it's still very compartmented, which is why sometimes we can feel like it's a bit, we didn't make a lot of progress. But I also want to frame a reality differently here and say that we attained kind of, we have made some progress, right? And it's good when we are working towards some goals that is quite ambitious, to see what we have accomplished, to say, okay, on what we can capitalize, and on what are the good practices that we have done, and that and toward what action we can make more progress. And I mean, the SDG I'm most passionate of is the peace, justice, and strong institution. Because, and this is why I'm here also today to talk about this, because for me that's kind of the base of a bit everything with education. If we don't have a political stability of peace, I mean, kind of nothing can work out after. And like you say, Peter, I'm working in sport and in football. Having a peace environment is the key to be able to give opportunities to people and to develop sports, and more specifically football, in different regions in the world. That's the very base of everything. And this is what I am kind of passionate about that, because if we don't have that, I mean, nothing can unfold after.
Right. They say, Lamin, you've said, without peace, nothing then thrives. Let me get Lavender. Lavender, join in and share your views on what other members have just shared. So, Lavender, over to you. Okay, I think Lavender might have just lost Lavender. Basically, like, internet can be really, really cool in other areas or in other parts of the world, but I hope she can join us later. So for the guests joining us, if you have any question, if you are watching this online, do feel free to use the hashtag Together We Are Strong, hashtag Ordinary Voices, and then you can also share with friends and tag them along. And Lavender is back. So Lavender, dive right in and tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I lost my connection a little bit. Hope you can get me well.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Lavender Nyango. I would say I am an advocate and a communicator who is very passionate about creating awareness and basically on climate action projects. I've been doing some pilot projects on waste management, just enabling people to know what climate action really is, because many a times we believe that when you talk about climate change, it is something that maybe it's affecting people who are maybe outside the world, outside Africa, like outside world, but there it's also something that is affecting us as a community, even as a household. So what I really do is that I help bridge the gap on climate initiatives, communities. And this I do by sharing knowledge, mobilizing people, and also promoting the sustainable practices. So my role as a climate champion basically is to inform, inspire, and also to influence others when it comes to taking part in the climate friendly projects. So this one we do basically through education, campaigns, and also community engagements. Yeah, so what interests me about climate is that the opportunity empowers the community itself. And what I believe is that small steps, they really matter in terms of taking actions on climate actions. So that is what I basically do. And through this, we learn that people have changed their attitudes, and also it has influenced even policy making, and also just inspiring that personal responsibilities, and especially among the youths within communities, not just in local communities, but we do it even in the urban communities. So when I would talk about STG, I would maybe one thing that we can do to achieve the effort is consistency in action. You know, there are times we try as much as possible to practice the little things, but we are not so consistent. But even with the ordinary voices, I believe that you are fueling awareness and also accountability and action in grassroots and also in different dimensions, be it in partnerships, be it in innovations, because even with the climate, we are really innovative. We are trying as much as possible to do a lot of innovatives in such a manner that we can create opportunities for ourselves. It's not a must that we have to be employed. We try as much as possible to create opportunities, and through this, we learn that the consistent local participation has really inspired us more and more. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lavender, talking about grassroots. So for you who, for example, probably you are meeting me for the first time, I'm stepping in for another good lady over here. I'm trying to find where she is. But the program is always run by our Ordinary Voices program coordinator called Millicent. And whatever we do on here is always to bring the like-minded people like you to come and share your stories, to come and drive this agenda forward. And then probably together we can shape all this work that is like Lavender is talking about, the grassroots movements, people who are like the voices that sometimes always have something really, really solid, but are always neglected or left behind or not given opportunity to share. So shout out to Millicent. She has been doing it all through from January to August. So today she's just off smiling somewhere, knowing that we will step in and do what we do. So shout out to Millicent, and thank you for Caleb also. I see Jamal is joining on there. So yeah, so such people, like such voices who volunteer their time to do all that we do to drive the change that we all want to see can always be amazing. So I want to bring Charity. I want to start with you, but I want to share something just right up there on the screen with you, and then I will drop my first question to you and just hear your thoughts on the same. So this is how it looks like, Charity. This is, if you look at that, they say by 2030, Charity, 351 million women will live in extreme poverty. Just let that sink in. So according to you, you could even choose one. What are your top 3 inequalities that exist in Africa? And how does these inequalities actually impact people at the grassroots level? Over to you, Charity.
Okay. This is some worrying statistics. Really worrying, given that we are supposed to be attaining some really significant goals in 5 years. And 351 million women and girls is such a huge number. And there's a lot of work that has been going on in gender mainstreaming, actually in almost every SDG. But I'm not really quite sure if that's still enough. But one of you've asked a question on the three inequalities that I think are the huge drivers of this. And unfortunately, when you're speaking about reduced inequalities in itself, inequalities in Africa, we still really significantly have very heavy patriarchal systems, very heavy patriarchal systems. A lot of work has gone into dismantling that, and we have a lot of action in the empowering women and girls. So many organizations doing so many different things, empowering them through education, opportunities provision, household strengthening, and all that. But I still feel there's a lot that needs to be done in dismantling the patriarchal systems that unfortunately the society set up from time immemorial. I mean, an example would be in the political space, even in Kenya, as we're speaking, in the political space, we are still struggling to attain 2/3 of the affirmative action. That is trying to ensure that women are well represented, their issues are tabled, and we can just be able to have very, very informed discussions on it. Of course, there are other enablers are, of course, the first one would be always be patriarchal because it sets the precedence for everything else. When you speak about economic opportunities, availing economic opportunities for women, unfortunately, I'll still tie it to patriarchal systems that exist because you do find that the purchasing power of some women, especially in the remote parts of the country, and mostly in Africa, is tied heavily to the male presence in their lives. And if they're not able to break free from that, then we still are not able going to clearly put them out of this 351 million that we're speaking about. I want to tie it to the SDGs that we're speaking of today. If we're able to have very strong systems, especially when we're speaking about justice, because when you're speaking about peace, justice, and strong institutions, it's supposed to ensure that the women and girls are very much included from the word go. And when you're speaking of strong institutions, you speak of the education, of the justice system that is able to provide for this platform for them to be given an equal balance in attaining some of these opportunities that they want. I'm not trying to say that work has not been done. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of success stories that we currently are able to celebrate because of the people who went before us, the work that they have done in various sectors. But unfortunately, from the statistics that you shared, it shows that there's still more work that needs to be done. So we need to be very alive to ensuring that we create systems that enable women to be able to be in these platforms. And there's a lot of wars currently going on around the world, unfortunately. And, we tend to think that peace is just absence of war. That's what most people tend to think, that if there is no war, that means we are at a peaceful state. And unfortunately, that's not true. And you find that most of the times women are affected by such kind of events if they're not able to, go about their activities, if they're not able to go to school. An example would be in Kenya, we have been having very, very many demonstrations on femicide. Someone would tell you there is literally peace in Kenya. Okay, yeah, technically. But why are we every now and then on the streets shouting at the top of our lungs, end femicide? Does that mean we do not have peace at our household level? And what does that translate to our data at the end of the day and our intervention plan? Of course, there are so many other enablers of this, but for me, I think it's just being able to work on how we can strengthen our institutions to avail these opportunities to women and girls, and ensure that we bring all SDGs at the table, because I cannot work on education alone and live good health, because most of the time, when you're talking of good health, that is maternal child health care. This is where also most women are affected. When you're speaking of climate justice, where I'm very passionate about, you find that if we have maybe climate shocks affecting the country, it is mostly women and girls who are affected. So I will still vouch for us tabling all the SDGs to just ensure that we are all around in our intervention to be able to really get ourselves out of the mess that we're about to be in.
All right. Charity, sometimes when girls champion for the girls, right, I sometimes feel like the boy child is being left behind. So but good point there, talking about the patriarchy, economic, and the impact, like the effect of war. Then this then brings me to Lamin. Lamin, I think Charity introduced you really nicely on her topic. But I want you to look at what is on the screen right there. It says in 2024 alone, nearly 50,000 lives have been lost. But I know you come from a football perspective where we got like a record of over 5 billion people or fans rally around football. So my question to you then, Lamin, what does peace mean to you? I know Charity alluded to it a little bit, but as a player or as a person who champions or who loves football, what does peace actually mean to you? And what do you think is contributing to this violence around the globe? So to build on what Charity just shared. So over to you, Lamin.
So, I mean, for me, peace, I mean, what a question.
The question, yeah.
It lasts 2 hours. So what peace means to me, it's, for me, it's something more than, like Charity said, the absence of war. It has to be more about getting to know each other. You know, it's a practice on a daily basis, you know. It's getting to know each other, getting to know the culture around the world, getting to know different cultures also. But when we talk about peace, and like you mentioned about the conflict that killed a lot of people, I mean, for me, I would have said, I would been crazy to say that we live in a peaceful world right now. I mean, peace is not a trending word when we see the state of the world everywhere. I mean, in the Middle East, in Asia, in the African continent, in South America, in Europe. I mean, war, it's everywhere. But we have also violence that go through our society, as Charity said, mainly targeted women. So that is also something that we need to be aware of. And I just before this talk, I was looking at the World Economic Forum report that annually they build the global risk report of the year. And what struck with me, it was the conflict state-based armed conflict, where number one now in 12 months they jump from the 5th place, I guess, to the 1st place right now. So that is the context in where we are living right now. And that is worrying a lot of people. But linked to this state-based armed conflict, you have also lots of societal polarization. You have lots of inequalities. You have lots of misinformation. So we live in a very challenging world, if I can say it like this. And we need to think about peace not only when there is wars between two countries and where diplomats and political leaders try to fix it, because peace is also between different communities and within our own societies as well. So for me, that we need to be very careful of when we think about peace. But if I go back to what I know the most, which is sport, and more specifically football, I mean, Charity also mentioned the place of women in the Kenyan society, but it also reflects on football. You know, we say a lot that football is the mirror of society, but actually, I do believe it's not true. It's more than that. It's football for me. It's a space. It's a scene. It's a scene. It's a stage. You know, where people can, I would say, reinvent the way we interact between each other. Try to create kind of dialogue between communities and between cultures. But obviously, football don't evolve in a void. So it's rooted in a certain political context. It evolved in a certain culture. It evolved in certain communities. So we need to be aware of that as well. And when Charity was talking about the place of women in Kenya, you can see it also in football. When, I mean, this summer in Morocco, there was like the Women's African Cup of Nations. But actually, we can say, okay, football can do much because there is political instability, but at the same time, they can create a space where we can frame the reality differently, we can offer a better infrastructure for women to play. We can challenge the patriarchal view on women that can play football as well there. So I do believe that in many different sectors, whether it's culture, through music, it's through sport, through football, it's through I don't know, many different sectors, we can actually do something, do a little difference, and reinvent the way that we relate to each other. But it starts from below. It starts from below, and that is very important. You know, the theme of today is ordinary voice. You know, how you call our discussion. And for me, this is where we do the difference, because political leaders and diplomats, they will come into the scene when we fail, actually, when the civil society fail in trying to build these bridges. This is when they come and they say, okay, no, there is two communities that are at war because we don't have the same interest. And when we see, I mean, in 2019, I was in Israel and Palestine. I went to Tel Aviv, I went to Bethlehem in the West Bank, I went to Jerusalem. And you can see that when I met people that were working for peace, actually they were trying to build bridges between these two worlds, getting to know each other, getting to the other side of the border. But that's the civil society that are doing that. We don't have to rely on political leaders and diplomats, because, I mean, if it's only on them, it's not enough. So, yeah.
I mean, I think you are trying to stress something, the power of dialogue. When people talk, when people engage, and when people just air out their issues, like openly, there is more that comes out of that, rather than just like people relying on the diplomats and the people at a higher level to create peace. And what I gather from your aspect is it starts at the grassroots level, at the community level. Because when peace exists down there, then obviously at the top, or the diplomats that represent us are more likely to be at peace, if you see what I mean. So
yeah, I just want to add also, sometimes it's political leaders that also initiate kind of, you know, division between communities. So it's not about like, if we have peace and on a below level, it will be well. Sometimes you also need to see about what political leaders are trying to do in order to maintain their power, you know, if they want to divide communities or in society, because sometimes it's in their own interest to have this kind of division. So it's more complex, but I mean, the dynamic has to come from below as well. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Just to add that before I bring Lavender into the climate conversation, I think you raise a really good topic over here. And for those who love history, I wasn't a really good student in history, but they say divide and rule. And politicians can be really, really good at that. Divide and rule. Cause chaos so that when people are disorganized, then you get what you want. But then looking at that, then the people and the societies needs to be very vigilant on who is trying to divide them and who is trying to bring on this chaos. Lavender, they are saying that if we are not very careful, the planet will be like we won't even be living here. It will be like living in a really, really hot water. Okay. So if we look at the climate issues and the climate aspect, it says there that 2024 was the hottest month. You as a climate champion, if somebody was to meet you, if you were to rate, we've had even the COP, I don't know, it is COP 30 coming up. We've now just ended the UN at 80. Do you think that this gathering and conferences happening around the globe, around climate, are contributing to anything that is helping us reduce that global warming or reduce the impact of climate? What are your thoughts in relation to the global gatherings and conferences?
Thank you so much for that particular question. And one thing I want us to understand when it comes to climate, we as the human beings, actually we are the notorious people who are creating climate to be how it is today. When it comes to the changes that we are experiencing, when it comes to everything actually around it, we are the activators. And we are the people who are going to change everything that revolves around climate action. Actually, I love it when they discuss about different policies when it comes to protecting our Mother Earth, which is something that is really important. And also, when I was just delving deeper, looking at the gatherings that have happened, there are some that actually have, we've seen bearing fruits. There are some policies that have actually shifted us to another dimension, whereby even us as individuals, we are here looking at our country, for example, Kenya, and we are really, really hopeful because we believe that something good can still come out of it. So maybe I would talk about some policies, because I know every year in, year out, we have different gatherings in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, people sitting down to discuss about climate, the climate issues that are affecting us. And so far, they are really doing well. There are some policies that have been put in place and they are really helping us, not even our country, Kenya, but I believe in also different parts of the countries. And I'll just highlight 3, which for me are outstanding at, I believe they're still even being put into place, even up to date. So, and I believe the future of our continent depends on us. And I believe we are really the key people to ensure that our continent is safe, and we are the really people who are to ensure that our continent is a place that people would really desire to live in, because we also have generations to come. And I believe that even in the future, if God willing, we'll still be living, we'll still want to breathe that fresh air, and also at the same time eat good food, you know, also sleep in an environment that is calm, that is cool. You know, you can't be like sleeping at night, it's too hot or it's too cold. We would love like every aspect of our life, as far as we are living, everything is good. So I would start with the Paris Agreement that was in 2015. It was a landmark international treaty under the UNFCCC, where the nations pledged to limit global warming, because this is something that has actually been affecting us and affecting very many countries. And you'd see, like, for the global warming, you'd realize that at times it was even below 2 degrees, and sometimes even preferably 1.5 degrees. Celsius. But when we try to compare it to the, let me say, the pre-industrial levels, the countries that came together, they actually agreed to submit to the NDCs, that is the nationally determined contributions, to cut off emissions and also adapt to change. And I'm trying to look at my country, Kenya, a country that I love so much. We've also tried at some point, because in Kenya, to an extent, I would say the government has aligned to the policies with its NDCs by promoting renewable energy such as geothermal, wind, and solar. And which I believe for now, the supply is over 80% of electricity in the country, because like everywhere in Kenya, even in the rurals, we have electricity. And not just that, even currently when we look at our transportation systems, we have buses which are electric, you know. And this is something that is, for me, it's something that I would clap for. It's a bravo to my country. The second one that I would talk about is the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and particular goal that I will talk about now that I'm so passionate about climate action. I would be particular on goal 13, that is climate action, and also touch something small on affordable and clean energy, and also at the same time maybe just look at the life on land. Now that we are staying on land, we are not staying on water. Yeah, so for me, I believe that this has provided an holistic framework linking climate with poverty eradication. At the same time, we have biodiversity and also sustainable growth. Why am I talking about this? Because currently, when we are in the climate space, as an individual who is in the climate space, and just touching on waste management, For now, as a country, as a community, we can convert these wastes into money. I've just been working on a project on the biofuel converter, and I was trying to look at us in the agricultural aspects. And I believe this is something that we can actually do. And also, even in our country, Kenya, we have a lot of NGOs, and also even community-based organizations that are trying as much as possible to reduce things to do with afforestations and rainforestation campaigns. They are promoting them actually. And for me, I believe that this is something that has brought about green legacy. Like we are trying to live green, you know. The campaigns that we have done, we've gone to schools, we've planted trees, we've mentored them. And I believe, like, there's this woman I love so much, the late Wangari Maathai, who really fought about Karura Forest, you know. And when you read one of her book that she wrote, Unbowed, you could really see the struggles that she went through. But at the end of it all, we still have Karura Forest existing. Yeah, so that is something that I would really talk about, and I'm really hopeful. I'm a climate champion who is really hopeful that the world is still a better place for us to live. And I would even look at, if we look also on the third one, that is the Kigali Amendment on the Montreal Protocol that was in 2016, which actually the main aim was to face down HFCs, that is the hydrofluorocarbons, potent greenhouse gases used into refrigeration and air conditioning. And this, even in Kenya, the Kenyan policy currently even is shifting, and we can see it is kindly encouraging eco-friendly cooling technologies. Though its implementation, as at now, it's still challenging due to the costs, you know. These policies, they not only guide the global corporations, but also inspire the grassroots. I don't know why I love using the grassroots, but it's something that, yeah, the grassroots movements. For example, a community-based organization in Kenya can be championing tree planting, clean cooking solutions, and also waste management. All of this, they align to the global climate goals. Yeah, thank you.
Lavender, I see that deep passion. And I think now it is high time now I bring Charity on here. But thank you, Lavender. We need to probably organize your own conference where you just talk about these policies, all this Kyoto Protocol and then Paris Agreement. So Lavender, count on us to help you organize your own virtual conference to just show people what has been going on. Talk to them about Wangari Maathai and all those efforts. So thank you. Charity, I know you spoke about these issues of inequalities. You talked about war, economic inequalities. You talked about patriarchy system. And I was just reading a bit about yourself, and I know you are also passionate about inclusivity and diversity. So we created for you a role, and we imagined Charity being a national diversity and inclusive president, for example. What will you do to solve these problems that you stated? Just like in a high level state, how would you, as a minister or as a president, solve this, say, two of the issues you highlighted? What will you do to solve them?
Hey, okay, that's some real serious ambition. Okay. I've never thought of that, being president of Kenya. It's headache, pure headache.
Yeah.
But I love when you say minister. Maybe that's why I can do it better. I really don't think there's just one or two things we can do. Because there's a lot that needs to be done, and it takes time to be able to see any great social change takes time. Any great social change takes time. But maybe at the very top of it, it's just providing or ensuring that you set up very strong systems, because unfortunately, we have sung this time in and time out. Kenya has excellent policies. We have excellent policies. On paper, Kenya is one of the best nations on earth. But the problem is our system. They're not really working. And you find recently, I was interacting with some Danish advocates, and they're talking about how, for them, when a policy is passed, they don't really need to do the work of pushing for its implementation. And they were very worried that when they come to Kenya, you have to push a policy, which is a headache to even have a policy on paper. And then now after that, that's not even half of the work is not yet done. You have to still go on and push for implementation. And I know this translates to so many countries across Africa, where you have, we passed the affirmative action. And Lavender here has spoken about amazing policies that are passed at these climate conferences and so on and so forth. But are they really in action? Are they really implemented? And I think the backdrops to our system, you find that if you don't have a very good system to back up your policies, and you're not really going to achieve anything at the end of the day. You did find, and unfortunately, I'm going to talk about something that has been affecting our country for some time now in our healthcare industry. We've had a rollout of a new health insurance, and on paper, it's a really excellent policy. And if it was implemented very well, we would have one of the best insurances globally. But because we don't have strong systems to back it up, we end up really with deeper problems than how we even started. So you find that for reduced inequalities, Crystal Lasige recently helped push a very major milestone in passing Disability Act bill that truly ensures a revolutionized change in the disability space, ensuring persons with disability are involved from the word go. They're not just an afterthought. And that is in every aspect of our interventions, in healthcare, in education, in the social spaces, in transport and travel industry, and all that. But we beg the question, how are you going to implement that? And I'd even just ask for us who are here, how many of us have taken the time to go through the policies? Very few. So we have very beautiful work that is currently happening in Kenya, but if I was given the opportunity, I would really go for strengthening our systems, putting people who are in charge, who really understand why the policies exist in the first place, and enabling them to be able to push for this. Of course, it's not going to be a one-off thing. It's going to take time. It's going to take war, unfortunately, to be able to achieve some of this. But I believe that can be revolutionized. And also just not working in silos, because most of our systems, you find that even if at the civic space that we are currently in, Omondi Peter, you work in the civic space. You use football to eradicate poverty. Lamin, you are in the social space, and you also work with the football and research to be able to also just ensure social development and all that. Lavender in the climate space. Why are we working in segments? Because at the end of the day, these things, they do marry. Because like Lamin mentioned, when you go back, when we're talking about reduced inequalities for women football has not really been brought up very well as compared to men. We recently had, I think it's African Cup of Nations, and the support that it got. I'm not really a football fan, but I was able to really be engrossed and watch and support and attend some of those events because of the support and everything that has been going on around it. And then now Lamin has mentioned something that is African Women Cup of Nations, something like that. I've not even heard of it, unfortunately. So what are the dynamics here? What are we trying to achieve at the end of the day? What is the support? Is it from the society angle, or is it by design? So those are the things that we need to start looking at. Lavender mentioned about the policies that we are passing and how climate change starts with you. And yes, climate change starts with you. But we're speaking about the aspect of you as a person, as an individual. you will criticize the system is not working, but what are you doing at your own capacity? What are you doing to ensure that we eradicate global warming? You will come and say, we support the Kyoto Protocol, we support the policies that were passed at Paris Agreement in 2015. But at the end of the day, you're going back home and you still use plastics and you're not recycling them. You do not disaggregate your waste at home and all that. So it's simply the little things that matter. So for me, if I was in a position of power, I think just being able to strengthen systems, because Kenya has excellent policies. I don't think we need more policies at this point in time. We just need to strengthen our systems, to implement the ones we already have, and then we can also start thinking of making new ones.
All right, there we go. But I was struck by this one, Charity. Why is Peter doing this? Why is Lavender doing this? And why is Charity doing this? Why not all the people working on climate come together? People working on civic and partnership come together. So working in silos, probably due to selfishness and greed and stuff like that, has contributed to a bit of that. And the systems, like Lavender, we can go to Bangkok, we can go to Brazil, we can go to Qatar and build all these policies. But coming down to what Charity have told us, if people are not going to implement these things and take ownership of these policies, then we will just have them on paper. And she gave us a classic example of SHA that is now everywhere. I now hear about Linda Mama. It just came up the other day, and now again it is now, oh, Linda Mama did not do this and do that. So it is a bit of blame game. So strengthening systems and finding people to implement those systems to deliver those policies can be really, really good. Backing that up with collaboration and partnership can get us to where we want to go. Lamina, I come to you. Imagine you are the president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, and you are asked now to use football as a tool to promote peace across the globe. What will you do, Lamin? And now you are speaking like the president of FIFA. You are addressing us as the FIFA president here. Go for it.
I don't know if what I would do, because I mean it's like but I will speak at my level and what I can do. What I would say also on the climate stress, it was also like, when we Charity say that we work in silo. I do also believe that it's also linked to the interest of each one of the industry. And Lavender was talking about climate justice, and it's kind of really pressing issues in sport, and more specifically in football, to kind of build a sustainable legacy in how they build their own stadium. But sometimes, and when you look at the country that organized the World Cup or mega event tournaments, I mean, all over the world, when you have too much restriction on the climate issues, they don't like that much, because they know that will restrict their ambition in making the mega event the best as they can be. So I do believe also working in silo helps certain industry to do kind of whatever they want, because less restriction is better for them in order to grow. So sometimes I think we also need to maybe go beyond that and know that what is the interest of our own industry in which we are working on, and trying to go beyond that. But what I do believe it's important for the climate stress, and I was the president of FIFA. One thing I will look at is the mega trends that are shaping the world right now. And if I don't mistaken, it link again to the World Economic Forum, that shows the Africa population will double by 2050. So, and it will be the youngest continent on the world. Linked to that, you have climate stress. Linked to that, you have polarization. Linked to that, you have lots of inequality. So you have lots of challenge ahead. But it is all about also, how do we frame this reality? Can we see climate stress as an opportunity, as an asset, or as something that will cause lots of inequality around the world? And for me, kind of this treaty around the world, you talk about the Lavender talk about the treaty in Paris. For me, I would not say, I try to see the glass half full here, because climate stress, we cannot work in silo here. It's an issue that will impact the whole world, basically. So it helps us first to get all the people at the table and say, look, we have a challenge that will impact all of us. So climate stress helps us to cooperate at a higher level, at a world level. So that's firstly a good thing to acknowledge that for me. Linked to that, I mean, obviously, if I go back to what I know the most, which is sport and more specifically football, that's a space that can create opportunities, and more specifically for young people. Education and economic opportunities when you have a mega event that is organized somewhere. I mean, in Morocco will host the World Cup in 2030. That's a good step ahead, you know. But sometimes it's temporary job because after the tournament you have not more job. But that's something that this kind of industry can bring on, and also raise awareness on climate stress. So we have, I would say, this kind of sport, but also climate is a way already to kind of cooperate at a higher level that can assure a kind of peace. But I mean, it all depends also on obviously the political leaders that are there. And also one thing that I wanted to stress, it's, you know, sometimes it's difficult to look at what we do on the grassroots level to say, okay, what me, I mean, what Lavender, what Charity, what you, Peter, are doing for climate stress. If you see that some industry, some big companies doesn't even respect that. And you are looking at about like, okay, I'm like trying to make I'm trying to save, to be aware of how I'm using water, of how I'm looking at my, at what I consume on a daily basis. But then you see big companies in the US or whatever, or wherever, and they don't respect that. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing my bit, but the big companies that impact the most the climate stress are not doing their bit. So I do believe we need to have like a common framework, but with also kind of the authority to sanction people that are not respecting that. Because if it's only on paper and we don't have kind of something that binds people to say, if you don't respect, you will get sanctioned, I mean, it's not effective. And that comes also in sport, in how they organize mega events. And it's pretty much everybody that don't respect. I mean, if I think about big sport organization, they don't really respect the climate restriction, because that will restrict their kind of growth and what they can do, to host the big mega event ever. So I mean, that's many things, but if we frame things as a way to, as an asset, basically, it may be the first step, and obviously all the thing that has to follow, which is the execution, which is absolutely key. I mean, I fully agree with what Charity says. If we have a good policy on paper, but we don't implement them, we just all lose time here. So that's key.
All right. I mean, you touched a good one here, which was we got big people breaking the rules. Nobody's going for them, but we have small people or small organizations doing what they are able to do, and probably they can only achieve so much. So there exists a gap. People break rules and we ignore them. Then the smaller people break the rules and we go for them and frustrate them. So really, really good insights there. Now we know you can be FIFA president. Lavender, we come to you. Lavender, I want you to imagine you are the director for the United Nations Environmental Program, which is purely based in Kenya. And you are just asked to address this audience for 2 minutes on what you will do to ensure that the climate issues and the climate crisis is addressed. What will you do as the director of UNEP?
Oh my, that's too big, let me say so. But I would love us to understand something when it comes to climate. You know, climate is something that it's great, and it's something that I would say it's a great challenge, because climate affects our economies. Climate, it affects systems, you know, and even know, even less up to date. We really have transformative policies that they really address the root causes and also the injustices of the crisis. But what do we do as people, as an individual at in your house? What do you do? Because actually what I know, the primary actors of climate are actually the people who are in fact destroying the environment so much. Because you use that, for example, you eat the sweets and you'll just drop them everywhere, you know. But I would say if I would, though I've never thought of that, being the director of the United Nations Environmental Program, for me, I would try to talk about three things. One, I would address something on climate justice. I want us to acknowledge that even in Kenya, we are still vulnerable, you know, and we still have the heavy burdens to ensure that we work a lot to make Kenya even a safe place for us to stay and also to be. I once did a project in Kibra, and let me say it was easy because still there is a lot that is demanded in terms of finances, and it's just a lot. It's just a lot. But I believe if there is climate justice, then we can be able to establish like a financial pool, for the lack of a better term, that would be established to support maybe adaptation, global, not global really, but green infrastructure, and also at the same time, community resilience. Yeah, I would also talk about something on accountability and transparency. And for me, I would say we have to all be accountable when it comes to climate change, climate actions. We have to be accountable, and at the same time, we have to be transparent. And we have to take it as a responsibility, both publicly and also even in private, because in your house, nobody will be able to follow you to just know what you're doing, you know. But we have to be accountable and also ensure that we comply to maybe the policies if possible, because I've had Lamin talk about, yes, you know, the big people, for them they'll do it, but then nobody will be there to hold them accountable. But accountability would start with you as an individual, and then it can be redirected now to those other dimensions. And another thing I would talk about is redirecting subsidies, because today, if you look at our nations, we are really using a lot of money. I would maybe put it in terms of trillions of dollars, and also trying as much as to support a lot of things, maybe fossil fuels, like to just put our economy, not really our economy, but to just put our society at a better place. And also even the sustainable technologies that we are currently using. If these things are really handled well, we can reshape our continent and even our country to ground up to a higher level. And for me, I would say one thing, Peter, as I finish, is that the policies that we maybe would try to put in place, for me, I would be of the side that we try as much as possible to transform the world. And transforming the world, the economy, through things to do with sustainability, equity, and dignity, because we are really losing out at some point. And when we talk about ensuring growth, it will no longer just come at the expense of ecosystems, but we'll also have justice that will remain central to climate action. And when we talk about global green, because currently many spaces, we want a green world. The transition would be secure, a livable planet when we create a very inclusive opportunity, even to our generations to come. Yeah, thank you.
Again, Lavenda, we see the passion, we see that drive. The conference will come very soon, and be ready to lead it. You might be the chair of that conference. Charity, I come to you. I know we are just like a bit of, we can always be very flexible, but we can have, say, the next 6 minutes. And now we've talked, we've highlighted, they call it the high level sharing. Arakiza will come to you as an audience to just give you a summary to close the session. But Charity, what could be your call to action if you had 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes to tell people what you are doing? To actually, like, yes, we've talked about what we want other people to do. What are you as an individual doing that you might give us as a call to action that we can actually rally around to support or even spread the word, or just something to tell the world as your call to action, or something you are doing to address the issues you've brought up?
Thank you for the platform. So at Najimudu Empowerment Initiative, we are rushing against time to be able to bridge some of the gaps, that the glaring gaps that we still yet to achieve in our SDGs. So we have a bold mission. It's called Mission 300,000 by 2030. So this mission is to champion for intersectional climate justice for 300,000 most at-risk individuals. And we're targeting women, youth, and persons with disability because they're the most they're most disadvantaged when it comes to climatic shocks. They're left out on the discussion tables. They're left out in the policies that Lavenda is talking about. They're very less included in the football space. I know you can attest to that. So we have set out on a mission, and the mission starts in 2026. So we want to see and commit to building intersectional climate resilience. And what I mean by intersectional is all-round climate justice. So this is tying to climate and health, tying climate and innovation, climate and technology, climate and security, climate and youth action, which at this point in time, we are organizing an event in Kilifi called Play for Nature. So Play for Nature is an event that uses sports, art, and culture to train the community on the impact of climate change and how it affects them, and how they can be of good contribution to the climate work in the coastal space. We also do research work under the Play for Nature research work to be able to support the survival of the trees. Kenya has signed up to a deal of planting up more than 1 million trees by 2030. Yeah? 1 billion, sorry. And the question we're asking, or the question we're begging, is how are we going to be sure that we have sustainability and survival of these trees that we are planting? Yeah. So the Play for Nature incorporates it incorporates the sports aspect, the research angle, and social enterprises. So social enterprises is where we support women-led households to be able to create some small eco enterprises for themselves that gives back to the community, and at the end of the day, they're able to pocket something so they can food on the table. And Play for Nature is part of Mission 300,000, and Play for Nature in itself intends to reach up to 10,000 youth, women, and persons with disability by 2030, contributing to the major 300,000 that we are talking about. So given that the mission is bold and very ambitious, we can't do it alone. And we are not jacks of all trades. So Najimudu is inviting partners, experts, youth, activists from Kenya, from without Kenya, from everywhere, be able to come and leverage their voice, their expertise, their time and interest, and just be part of this. We're going to be in Kilifi for the Play for Nature from 10th to 11th of October. And here it's a tournament. We've organized a tournament, and I would love to see if Global Youth Forum could be part of it, because I've seen you have some amazing tournaments that you've organized. Lamine, I know we can bank into whatever you're doing. Lavender, in the climate space, I think your passion and your zeal could be of interest to us. And anyone who is interested in creating intersectional climate justice for youth, women, and persons with disability, you're welcome. We'll always give you the time and the space. And thank you for this space, Peter. I appreciate that.
All right. I'm confident we can always find something to support charity. So well done, and thank you for sharing that. Lamine, over to you. We can spend the next remaining 3 minutes. Lamine, tell us what you are doing. I know we share a platform, Football for the Goals, what you see, and probably what you are doing that we can support, or members listening to this can support. And then, Lavender, we come to you.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Peter, I will be very brief. It's what I take from the code is basically to foster collaboration, as we all say about the work we are doing, because I mean we are working basically toward the same thing. Football for the Goal is literally using football to work toward the SDG, and so like we say all over the talk, it doesn't make any sense if we work in silos. So maybe this is the message that I want to leave here. And yeah, I mean, looking forward to collaborate on that. And if I mean, I invite you also to follow Football Case Study if you want to have a look. To follow me, I can share my contact also. And if I can help in any capacity, I mean, I will be I will be glad. So yeah, I mean, just to say, I might be in Kenya by the end of October, so I would be glad if I can meet some of you in person. But I mean, not sure, but I would love to. So yeah, I just leave it here.
All right. So again, before I bring Lavender on, you see even 3 of us, or I see Jamal, I see Patronila, Aida is there, Bill is there. Imagine if all of us like now just form a small community and we say, we want to support charities event. We want to go on social media, post it, help her do research. For example, before I come to you, Lavender, charity, at Global Youth Forum, we are aiming to plant 3 fruit trees for every goal scored in our tournament. Why should we do that when you are doing something that can help us achieve that? Why can't we just come and collaborate with you and say, with your organization, you will be leading the tree planting. For us, we are so much keen on the fruit trees. And now that is the collaboration we are now starting to think around here. So there is a bunch of possibilities, and we can always put structures together to see how we build on that. So I'm glad, like you guys, you came, and other people also found time to come and join in. So Lavender, where do you want us to come in and share your passion of climate activism and things like this?
Thank you so much, Peter. So for us, what we basically do, we have 12 community-based organizations that we come together every week to do major cleanup campaigns. Yeah, so because the projects that we are doing currently are still startups, and we are still trying much more to ensure that we reach to every household. Actually, that is our main aim. So I believe that for me, the consistency adds to something big when you make that consistent choice, because in some areas we've been doing tree planting. In some areas we've been doing things to do with the recycling of wastes. In some areas we've been doing things to do with reducing plastic use. So we are still in the process of ensuring that we reach to every household by educating them and also being examples. I believe that it is beyond lifestyle, because when you can create awareness, at the same time you can hold yourself as an individual accountable, and also even the leaders within the community accountable, we can promote sustainability. So for me, I would just say you support us if you're around Nairobi. You can ask me when these particular cleanups. I'll tell you which area we are working on so that you can come, Yeah, we do the cleanup campaigns, and also sometimes we have the sessions whereby we champion for awareness through education. We gather and just teach youths and also women within the communities. And I told you that we are working in the rurals and also in the urban sections. So please be part of us.
Bye.
Thank you.
So by look of it, at the end of the day, everybody who has joined the call today, Arakiza, be ready to give us the closing remarks. At least everybody's doing something, which is so exciting. I really just hate where people just go and they talk. And actually you ask them, what are you doing to solve that problem you are solving? And then they disappear. So Arakiza Caleb, as a representative or a person joining the call, bring us home. What are your parting shots or your thoughts in less than a minute if you can? If you can do 1 minute, that can be really, really cool.
All right. Thank you very much. I read the coordinator. Yeah, we love you so much for the work being done. Yeah, we see that in the when you talk of climate or the environment that we are in, we have only one planet, Earth, where it may not surely be expanding as the population that is in is expanding. So as we think of industrialization and everything that is happening, we need to think of sustainability because it's very important to us. So my point here is don't let yesterday affect today. So what is happening, what happened yesterday, what has been happening as a challenge, we can surely stop it by providing solution. Yes, everyone has bad days when it seems like a black streak has come in life. But when such things are happening, you must remember what happened yesterday should serve as a lesson or conclusion, but nothing more. So what happened, it should give a lesson to what should be the next. As we talk of sustainability, as we talk of businesses and different things, let us remember that it should not affect what is happening now. So we thought about it and let's draw conclusion, and we live through such storm, but drawing what is supposed to be done in the current situation and the current environment. Otherwise, we appreciate you so much, our guest speakers, and our moderator. It has been so good. Stay blessed. Thank you.
And there we say we've had a great time at Ordinary Voices September edition, and we look forward to supporting charity with Play for Nature. And then Lavenda is talking about cleanup. Lamin is talking about, he's still not very sure, but he might be in Kenya sometime. We might find a chance to collaborate and do great things. So if you are joining online or you have friends, please do spread the word using the hashtag Ordinary Voices. Tag friends, mention friends, and let's build a community that believes in togetherness, that working in silos might not get us anywhere, but coming together can actually help us to achieve a lot of things. So with that, I say thank you, and we look forward to having you next time and continuing